Okay.
I had a fun fact, but you just told a story that I would like you to tell people.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah, I really like that story.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so let me preface it first.
Yep.
So I think we've mentioned it before, but Eric's dad is a musical genius. He's amazing. I've watched him live several times. He puts stuff on YouTube. He's done recording sessions, had a remarkable band. He does producing. He has a company that he teaches everybody how to play everything.
He does the music on all our stuff.
Yeah. The music on our your intro and all that stuff. I called him one day and I said, "Hey Pete, can you make a couple tunes?" And he goes, "Yeah, you like Led Zeppelin, right?" And I go, "Yeah." So he goes, "Here, I'll put some Led Zeppelin stuff together and then some quieter stuff." So yeah, he wrote all that stuff. So he's amazing. So I was joking around before we went on air, if we call it on air.
Like it's like we're legit.
Producer Bob, put the on air sign on. But so I was doing some whistling, and you thought you were pretty impressed with my whistling.
Oh yeah, it was great. Mm-hmm. So good.
Anyways, so you were telling me a story about your dad when you were in grade 7, 8.
Yeah.
So go, I like it.
Okay, so when I think I was in grade 7, and I could be getting the details a little wrong. I don't think I am. Maybe someone else in my family can comment below. So when I was in grade 7, we started 7 or 8, we started music class in grade school.
Yeah.
And I was given the trumpet as my instrument. And to this point in my life, I knew my dad was like a musician and he was good at guitar and piano and he could sing and had a studio and whatever.
But you didn't know.
But I didn't know how good he actually was. So I came home from my class and I said, "Hey Dad, like we started music today and I thought it was all cool because like I'm doing music now, whatever." And he goes, "Oh yeah, sweet. Like what did you get?" And I said, "I'm the trumpet." I said, "Cool, let me see." So I have my little trumpet case, bring it to the kitchen table, open it up, and I'm showing him how to like put it together and like where things go and whatever. He's like, "Oh, cool. Let me see." So I give it to him, and out of nowhere, from like a dead stop, like starts ripping Somewhere Over the Rainbow on my trumpet, just out of nowhere. And I remember watching him play it, and I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What the hell? Yeah. Where did you learn how to do?" So that was when I realized that he was a little more than your typical musician. But I guess he was like trained on trumpet, like he played in band in high school or whatever. So this is actually follow-up to finishing up. I didn't say this before we started recording, but the other thing he told me, because I remember asking him, I don't know if it was that time or after that, I said to him, I was like, "Okay, so like if I give you any instrument, just like any random instrument,
French horn.
Yeah, French horn. Would you be able to just like play it? Even if you'd like a clarinet, like something like you've never." Yeah. And he said to me, like, because I've played so many different instruments and I'm trained on so many, like this guy, guitar, piano, bass, singing, drums, horns, like could play the triangle probably, the spoons. Like
I can play the triangle.
So I asked him, like, would you be able to just play? And he said, if you gave me like 20 minutes or something with any instrument, like I'd probably be able to put like something together that sounds decent or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, dude. Like, so that was the day.
It's funny because Charlie does that with me on the ice still. Like, because I think I'm shitty now. Yeah. And I'll rip something out and I just and he goes, "Holy crap, Dad." Yeah. And I go, "What?" And he goes, like, "That was nobody can do that here." Yeah. I'm shit. I'm shit now. He goes, "Dad, you're not." But it's like it's neat to see the.
It's crazy how similar when we talk about
your dad. Like, and I'll shout this guy out forever. That's one of our favorite places to go, like when we go out for an evening, if your dad's playing live. Yeah. And I'm telling you guys, he looks like he runs the Chicago Mafia. Yeah. He's about 6'3". He's got one finger is like this. Fingers. Yeah, this thick. Got that big curly head of hair. Yeah. Nice guy. No, actually, yeah, he's the nicest guy to me. Yeah. And your family's the nicest people, but your dad, like as soon as he releases a YouTube, so Pete Palazzolo, I don't know if that's the channel. Yeah, Pete Palazzolo. So it's Eric, but Pete instead. Yeah. Palazzolo. when every time he releases something, I subscribe to his YouTube thing. It's probably the only thing I subscribe to. Yeah. And it comes out, and I was playing it for I played it for people, and they go, "He's amazing," and it doesn't look like he would be that guy.
You would never be able to tell if you just saw him.
He's incredible. So you see these big sausage fingers and this big huge man. And he's tickling the ivories like,
oh yeah, just gorgeous,
right? Like he's Liberace. And then he sings, and you go, "That can't be your voice."
Yeah, it doesn't match how you look.
So then he does the background music with, what do you call it?
I don't know. Like
harmonies?
Oh, on the vocal. Yeah, the harmonies. Yeah.
He does the harmonies and stuff like that. And literally, we sit there and go, he's amazing.
Yeah, he is amazing.
He's amazing. He's not just good and cute and nice for our little town. He's amazing. And I remember we went out one night to watch him play, and when he sees me, he gives me a shout out. He's sick, like he's got the tunes going, and then he sees me, and goes, Andy Bucket! Yeah. So I feel like a rock star. And so one night, the singer for Cheap Trick, Cheap Trick was playing, so the band jumped on, and so this guy jumps on with your dad, and they were playing, I forget what song it was, but it was great, and your dad was better than him. And I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Amazing.
He is amazing. Yeah. Well, when I tell people like what my parents do, and then I tell them what my dad does, and I say, oh yeah, like he runs a music school and does like lessons and stuff. Yeah, like he does lessons and recording and whatever, and it just you can't do it justice it's until like you actually hear.
It's like when people ask Charlie or me what I do for a living. Right. Like it's unless you are in the know or whatever, it's like I teach hockey. So for little kids, sure, little kids. I teach them how to.
That's exactly the same. It's funny the parallels we talked about that before. Like the parallels between your business with hockey, and my dad's business. It's the same thing. Like people don't know until you actually see it, until you actually are there. Or for my dad, or you hear it. Like it's like you don't think it's like, oh yeah, he sings, he plays a little bit, and you think like live music at the bar downtown is the quality that you might be thinking. Yeah, but
Larry Lounge.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
but this guy's legit, man. Like he's legit
man,
good.
He's so good,
and he does all the like classic banger tunes. Like they're just so good. Yeah,
so good, so enjoyable. It's so nice. I always say this. I appreciate anybody that's excellent at what they do. Like so, if I go and buy clothing. And the salesman's excellent, and they can no. They like put like Ryan Donnelly's dad was like that. He owned a men's shop, and I remember the first time I first couple times I met him before I met Ryan. He introduced Ryan to me. He went in there and I said, I want to get some clothes. Like I'm a hillbilly, like right? I'm a hockey player. So he said, no. Where do you want to wear it for? And so he wear this. I'm not sure. He goes, no, trust me. And then you go out feeling like $1 million. Yeah. And explains why it fits, why it looks good, and anybody that's excellent, I love. The side note of this with your family, I just got to say it. You said your dad's business, my business is there's a lot of similarities. You got to admit we both have some handsome women.
Oh yeah. Knocked it out of the park in the women department.
Right.
Man, I should actually in my house.
Yeah.
There's in our basement we have like these Bristol board like collages of pictures that someone made. I don't know when they made them, but it's a bunch of like old pictures. And there's some pictures of my parents when they were like dating. Like so, I think my dad they were like early 20s or whatever it was. Right. And I see my mom like they're at a wedding or something. And I'm like, Dad, like frickin' A, man. Like, good for you.
Yeah.
Dude.
Well, your mom with the big blonde curly hair.
Yeah, gorgeous.
She keeps herself in good shape.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. And they're nicest people, so I'm glad I could talk about them a little bit. And we're still not going to talk about hockey yet. Yeah. So I got to go with my fun fact.
Yeah, good fact.
So I love finding out this stuff. So I found out what the whole 9 yards means. So for the kids that maybe don't know this, a lot of times you'll say something, the whole 9 years, it means like give them everything or I did everything, like it's like emptying the tank. So I read this somewhere the other day that the whole 9 yards originated from a war. And back in maybe it was World War I, II, whatever, the belt-fed machine guns, which are cool. They got bullets like this big.
Oh, yeah.
And they're, you hold them up and they just, so it's like it's just a machine gun. Pow, 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 pow. Yeah. The belt-fed machine guns, the belt itself were 9 yards long. Yeah. So when you give someone the whole 9 yards, you're getting it all. Yes. You're getting them good.
We're big on sayings in PowerTech as well. Yeah. Actually, I think this could be wrong, but I think I remember reading this, that in World War II, I think it was actually the Germans that they like popularized using the belt-fed machine gun, like having the machine gun nests. And they would just mow people down, man. Like it could have been World War I, but either way, 1 or 2, I think it was the Germans that popularized using that, and they made it really difficult because before that, it was like the front lines, like you're going after one another, like you get up and go. But then they popularized the machine gun, and it was like if you do that, you're just getting mowed down, man. So that was, I think that's when they started to like dig the trenches and whatever to stay away from the artillery stuff and the machine gun fire. That could be totally wrong because I'm not a historian, but I think I remember reading that.
The old, probably World War I, maybe World War II. They had the bayonet at the front.
Yeah,
of the gun.
You're like walking.
Imagine that kind of war.
Yeah.
I actually can't imagine any war. It's it's not fun. I mean, we're talking the whole 9 yards like it's a fun thing.
I want to see.
It's a pretty good term, but like, I wouldn't want the whole 9 yards. Actually, if I got the whole 9 yards, I wouldn't know the difference, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't know the difference either. But either way, big fans of the sayings in PowerTech here.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Another side note. Gosh, are we ever going to talk about this today?
We only have side notes so far
always
today.
Side notes, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this was kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie, I get home the other day, or no, I was coming home. He goes, Dad, you got to watch. I just pulled up some stuff on YouTube on crazy hockey parents, angry hockey parents. So I said, yeah, I can imagine. So I come home here and we watched about 15 minutes of clips.
Hilarious.
Like, can you imagine there's 15 minutes of clips of some dad or mom being absolutely nuts?
Nuts.
And so anyways, like, I mean, wow, what people will do. I was so conscious of this at the arena because, like, come on, man, we're watching kids hockey and it's amazing how it gets away. So I just wrote a couple of things. Fist fights, throwing people down the stairs, guy going to the glass and smacking the glass out because of his pride. He's not sitting there going, okay, I went too far. He just keeps yelling until he gets escorted out and everybody in the building thinks he's a complete idiot. Women chirping men, women chirping women. Totally embarrassing stuff. But I've always tried to be myself at the rink and go to one end of the ice and try to be by myself. I want to watch hockey. Like, so even when Charlie plays in Guelph next year, I know a lot of the family and people say, hey, we'll go up together. And I mean, if you come, obviously, but come up and, we'll have a good time. It's like, I don't want to go and have a good time. Yeah. I want to go watch my kid and go home. Right. And just like, it is what it is. And it's a business now for him. But I'd stay at one end and try to avoid people as much as I can because people just start. Like, I can't believe people like yell at the ref like, you're an idiot, like they just go nuts on him. It's like, the kid is probably like in youth hockey, you might have an adult, but most of them are 16, 15, 14, and you're calling a kid an idiot. Like, they're hard enough to get. And just losing it on them. And then what was the other one I was thinking about or calling a kid, like, because this is what happened to me, calling a kid an idiot or an asshole or something like that. It's like, don't you see there's other people around? Like what makes you think in any world that would be okay? And then they defend it. So that was the one thing that happened to me the last playoff series that Charlie played, second last playoff series that Charlie played in Major Bantam. I was standing all by myself, and there was this guy that looked like he was good at art. Well, he was about 8 people away from, like, spaces away from me, like just enough that if I speak like this, he can hear. So what happened the night before, they were playing in London, and
same team, like back to
back? It was a playoff series, right? So this was game 2.
Oh, right.
Great
playoff,
game 2 or game 3. So Charlie was, the first game was just having a great game, whatever, and so he's coming across the ice and he got knee on knee, and I didn't sit there and say you're he got knee on knee. And was it an accident? It was on purpose? I don't know. But you know what, son? If you're going to play hockey, it's going to happen. So tape an aspirin to it and get back out there. No, honestly, I'm not trying to be tough.
No, I know.
It is what it is. So, and I got my glasses on. So he was on the bench and he was just hobbling. And Charlie, if he's hurt, he's not.
I remember you telling me about this one last year.
Yeah. So anyways, he's on the bench, and then he goes to the bench, and the coach goes, Andy, come and see Charlie. So it was partially, can you motivate him to get going? Or, he might be serious. So I went in there, and if you ever watch MMA, there's a nerve in your thigh. And Dr. John verified this. He said that's what it is. You can't step on it. So what happens if you get kicked repeatedly, or you get one good kick in the thigh where it hits that nerve, you can't put any body weight on it. So like in MMA, you'll see guys trying to kick that thing, and you just buckle. There's nothing you can
dead
do.
Leg, yeah.
Dead leg. Yeah. So that's what happened. So it was painful, and you just couldn't play the rest of the game. So half a game was gone. Okay. So he was like, I can't believe we're not playing this playoff game. The boys won anyways. It was great. Anyhow. And he was, being a decent player, guys were, they take jabs at him, and that's part of the game. I'm not complaining about it. Yeah. So he mucked it out. He was ready for the next day. He just had to ice it and get rid of the swelling and stuff. So that next game, Charlie had a little burr up his ass because guys were chirping and stuff. So he was coming down, like, so if I'm standing here, he's coming down these boards, and some guy was like chirping him and gave him a shot or whatever. So he turned around and he pitchforked this kid. I mean, I thought he was going to get life. Yeah. Charlie. He pitched, like he came from back here and pitchforked him.
Yeah, just speared him.
Like, I think it was in the balls or right around the balls.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, that's going to be a long suspension. And the ref didn't catch it all. He would have been done for the playoffs for me, like for sure. So the guy goes down. Anyways, the art instructor. Sorry, guys. See, I get
getting fired up.
Yeah. This freaking guy with his glasses and his 3 chins and whatever. He yelled, he was what an asshole. Let it go. And then he said it again. What a stupid that. So I said, hey. I said, it's good, man. It's enough.
Yeah.
So he goes, so then he starts going, and I said, listen, dude, it's enough. Yeah. I said, that's my kid. And you can say whatever you want. It's my kid. He's the nicest kid you're ever going to meet. But say it somewhere else. That's all I'm saying. Say it somewhere else. And then he was trying to not back down, but back down quietly. I don't know. You shouldn't have did that. Like, just shut up. I said, kids, I might just rip your little art head off, paste it on a collage like you were saying. So, but it can get away from you. And that's like, I'm totally under control at these games, knowing that people are going to say dumb things, but you can't go around calling kids asshole and not expect someone to punch you in the frickin' melon.
Oh yeah. But
right?
it's insane how crazy it can get. I got like two stories on that. He ended up being one of my best friends, actually. I played junior in college with him.
Yeah.
He played, I played AAA against him, and he was unreal. He was like one of the best kids I ever played against, I guess.
Yeah.
And his mom was a psychopath at the rink. And nicest lady ever.
That's
like she
weird.
had she had a little bite to her, like when you talked to her, even just dated like normally. She's very like opinionated, strong personality, like that kind of stuff. But totally nice lady,
Hot.
Talkative. Yeah, good looking lady. So
little bite, little fiery.
Yeah.
And she's hot.
But
Woo!
she at the rink when we were in minor hockey, like 12, 13, 14, like you could hear the whole game from the bench yelling.
Amazing.
Crazy, getting into fights with other parents, like getting in yelling matches with other parents, like crazy, but never got like anything totally aggressive or anything. Like there was a couple of times where she probably got kicked out, or other people got kicked out because of her or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was one. The other one, you were talking about the refs and how they're yelling at refs and stuff. Remember last year, 2 years ago now, we had our 3-on-3 tournament, or maybe it was in the summertime, whatever. And we get like these kid refs from like the OMHA like minor hockey association that are like
forced.
They're 15 and 16. Like that's how old these kids are, and they're reffing like cross ice 3-on-3 for 10-year-olds.
Yeah. So to be clear, we're not reffing an official game. It's to make sure that we have some flow, look professional, and so it doesn't get stupid.
Yeah, it makes it like a legit 3-on-3 tournament.
Yeah,
like it's not like a
cost me money is what it does.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
We're paying for it to be more legit.
Yeah.
Right. So then there's no one like that's gonna argue about penalties and stuff. Like we got a ref out there, kind of thing. Anyways, so the dad on the one team, they're like screaming at this kid, the ref. The kid's like 16 years old.
Yeah. Remember I talked to him?
Yeah. The kid's like, he's 16 years old and your kid is 10, and they're playing cross ice 3-on-3 for fun.
Yeah.
It's like, are you actually serious?
Yeah.
You're a grown adult.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Well, that guy has a problem with everything.
Oh, well, but that's just one. Like that happened a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I had to argue about like a kid got a penalty shot one time.
Yeah.
And then he scored on his second shot on the penalty shot, and they didn't allow it. And this dad like was freaking out. And I'm like, dude, the kid is 9. It's pretend hockey. It's not even real hockey. Like they're playing a tournament for fun. That's 3-on-3. Like relax.
It's supposed to be
man.
Fun with your friends at Christmas for a day. It's the best day ever.
Yeah, it's not for you, Dad, to win a 3-on-3 tournament. Like,
well, that's
relax.
remember. So what I had to say to that guy that day, I think you were in an earshot of me because he was being an idiot. And this is a great customer service, eh? So I'm not going to say his name, but I said, hey, and so he started. I said, no, come here. I said, if I actually hear one more word on you, I'm going to knock you out in front of all these kids. I'm going to knock you out. And he goes, yeah. I said, you got one more chance. And then he was quiet. Yeah. And then until the end of the day, he did something. But and it was like telling an adult male to stop yelling at kids and refs. Says, come on.
Well, and this has been happening for years too. Like I remember when I was like 19 or 20. Normally, because I was still working here, I remember like we'll have the refs, but then someone that works for PowerTech kind of floats around just to make sure everything's good. And me, like a 19 or 20-year-old kid, I have to go up to a 47-year-old adult male and say, hey, like maybe you should relax a little. Yeah. I don't know. Like, do I need to tell you that? Yeah. Like these are 8-year-old kids. Yeah. These are 10-year-old kids. These are 12-year-old kids. And that kid that's reffing is 15 and can't drive. can't have a beer.
That's right.
Maybe like just settle down.
Yeah, without that kid roughing this unimportant game, we don't have a really good tournament. So like, come on, man.
Yeah, and it's not that you can like never say anything. If it was actually something that serious, just pull someone aside like a calm adult and be like, hey, like, I don't know, like this kid keeps whacking kids. Like, can you maybe just take a look or whatever?
Yeah,
it's like, that's fine. No problem with that. But like, relax, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
My point of saying that stuff was that Eric Wellwood and I were just talking about how hard it is to make. He was talking to Charlie yesterday about, that rock, that's impossible rock to lift over your head. If you can do that, you can play in the NHL. And we were just talking about like, people could sit there and they go, it's impossible. And they're like, of course it's impossible. There's only 700 people that can do it.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it, right? Like, it's impossible. It's so hard to lift this rock. It's so hard to go anywhere in this game. So why? I don't understand. Why do you get so fired up? Mm-hmm. Like, the perspective is, it's incredible. Like, I don't understand.
Especially because most of them don't understand the process. It's like a lot of parents, like when we talked about the draft, like they think their kid is good. And they think, like, you were talking about one parent who said, no, my kid's going to go in this round, and this kid will go in this round. And and it's like, how, based on what are you evaluating whether or not your kid's, they just don't know. So they think, like, they get all hyped up because they get excited because maybe their kid is decent at hockey. And some of them are just crazy, but some of them actually think, oh, my kid's actually good. Like, maybe I could, but they just have no idea how many, like even you look at the draft, there's 300 kids that get drafted. Mm-hmm. That seems like a lot of kids.
Seems like it.
There's probably 10,000 that play hockey in Ontario.
That age group.
At that age group. Yeah. In just Ontario. Mm-hmm. Between all the centers, all the AA, AAA, whatever leagues that you can play in, there's thousands of kids that are playing.
Yeah.
And they pick 300.
Well, it's just another thing I wanted to say. I remember... So for my business, I was probably doing this for about 5-6 years. And I hope this makes sense. So I was up, we took the weekend. Charlie was just in his diaper still, like out of a diaper maybe. Maybe I was in the diaper. I don't know. But actually, speaking of diapers, he was in a diaper because Zach cast. So I went up to Sudbury because it was my hometown, and they were playing where Danny Maggio got drafted first round, who is a guy I trained, and Zach and Matt Pomple were playing up there, and another guy that was training for I think it was Willie playing for St. Mike's at the time. So I said, let's go this weekend. It'll be great, hometown, blah 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 blah. So Zach popped in the hotel room because they were staying at the hotel, and he came in to visit Charlie as a little baby, and he signed his diaper, his shitty diaper, by the way, but. He's a beauty. Anyways, so after the game on the Friday night, Saturday, I got a call from the guy from the media because they put a thing on the Jumbotron that, like a former Wolf was here, and they set me up. Really nice, actually. It was nice of them. Thank you. And had a couple beers and watched the game. And so I got one of the guys from the press called me and said, hey, can you come and do an interview tomorrow on TV? I said, yeah, sure, whatever. So I went down to the rink, and there's a youth practice going on. I would say the kids are probably 9, 10. 8, 9, something like that. And I saw the coach just all over these kids, like, and pulling a kid aside, and you could just see him giving it to him. And you have to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this, and like constant. And I'm like, this guy's intense. And then as he started coming to the end that I was standing at, I went, come on. And this is a guy that was a year or two older than me that played house league hockey, and he's teaching these kids everything he knows, which is nothing, and so adamant that he's right. Yeah, you know what I mean? And it dawned on me, I said, every time I'm doing these practices for people or these coaches, it's the same guy, different city, different guy. Guys that are coaching, thank you for coaching kids, but with your, there we go, putting people to sleep. You're coaching with, the act as if they have this passion and knowledge, and you have to do this, you got to do this, and they're all over it. And it's like, but you didn't even do it. Yeah. And there's so many other coaches that do that here, and they talk the talk as if they did something, and they don't. Yeah. And it's and which goes along the lines of what we're talking about today with agents. So this has nothing to do with agents, but what I'm talking about is there's so many people, and I'm sure in every field, that talk like they know what they know, like inside out, and they're pretenders, or they just want to be involved in hockey so badly. Yep. And they're dangerous. You know what I mean? They're actually dangerous because, like I said the other day in one of our podcasts, I ran into about 5 guys that I trained 20, 15 to 20 years ago. And they were so happy to see me. And we talked and how are you doing? Let me see your babies, all this kind of stuff. And it was a really nice experience. And Charlie commented, he goes, Dad, they love talking to you. But that guy that's yelling and screaming and going ape shit about, and he knows nothing about nothing, that's double negative. That's not even a sentence. Doesn't know anything about anything. That's something. Yeah. They don't remember him the same way. They go like, there's that fool that pretended and went ape shit about nothing.
Yep.
And this is the walk of life of hockey, is that you have to learn how to filter it out. And as we start talking about agents and advisors in about 13 seconds, I'm going to explain that to people, because it's a topic that comes up.
Well, yeah, before you go into that, I was going to ask this question later, but I'm going to ask it now instead. So you're talking about this guy that you recognized coaching, how he didn't know anything. He played house league, whatever. And well, I'm sure we'll touch on this again in a bit. But so, like, what do you think about how much you can offer as in hockey, at least, if you're not someone who's really played at a high level? So whether that is you're coaching or you're an agent or whatever, like what roles. So we talked about it a bit before we started recording, but I'm going to kind of change it now that you've been talking about it. Mm-hmm. So this guy that was the coach doesn't know much about hockey.
No.
So what could you expect from, you know, if you're playing in minor hockey and you have a coach that didn't really play at a high level or whatever, like what can you offer your kids or your team? Like what should your mentality be going into it? Assuming you have like the self-awareness to know you don't have a lot to offer.
It's a great question. Like, it's a simple question, simple answer. If you haven't played and you don't know the game of hockey, no, first of all, let me say it this way. Your coach is not going to teach you a whole lot of shit about hockey, period. You probably won't get a good coach until junior. Even sometimes that's questionable.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's questionable. And then if you are fortunate, like Charlie was very fortunate for his last year of youth hockey, Matt Zuccato, who was his coach. He was a perfect coach for that age. He knew enough about hockey, actually fairly knowledgeable, especially for that age. Knew how to press the buttons and how to come in, you know, when to be angry, when to sit, how to relate to the kids. He was perfect. And then, but before that, like, I mean, you get a dad, you get people that don't know the game. Mm-hmm. They think they do.
And that happens a lot.
It happens a lot. Yeah. It's like you don't know one thing. Used to chase me around for drills and stuff. Anyways, besides the point, what can you offer? Like, so as a player or parent going into youth hockey, understand that you have to respect the coach and do what they are asking you to do. That's just number one. You do what they can, but you just go play the game. Number two, if you learn anything about hockey, great. But you're not going to learn hockey stuff. So parents, don't get bent out of shape. They don't know. They don't. You have to have some experience in stuff like that. So that's all aspects of hockey. But what can the coach offer? Like, look for life lessons. Look for what a good person. Or if he's a complete idiot, look at, I don't want that. What a jackass. But you look for life lessons, and then you get something out of it. And a coach is just a coach in youth hockey. You need someone to do it. Now, if you look at agents and advisors and stuff like that, is that what you were asking too? Coaches?
Yeah, I was going to get into that too.
And the other thing is, coaches there are good coaches out there that haven't played a high level of hockey. They're kind of geniuses, but there's points of it, and I don't care who you are. There's points or pieces of hockey that if you haven't played, there's no way you can understand it. Now, from a coaching perspective, all you're doing is you're a tactician. You can be a motivator, I guess, but you're a tactician. It's X's and O's, do this, do this, do this. So you don't have to say, like if someone says, yeah, but you don't know what it's like, that's not important. That's what I want you to get done. So if you're a very good tactician, then you can coach, and it is what it is. Mm-hmm. You might not understand the players, but again, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose as far as getting a good coach.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have a good coach, you better learn how to play anyways.
Yeah.
So as far as the business side of hockey and stuff like that, you don't have to be a hockey player, but you have to have knowledge in whatever side of the business, which we'll talk about. You have to be able to relate to it.
Yeah.
And if you start telling players how to play and you have zero knowledge of the game, or you don't understand the newest tactics and little nuances that make you a good hockey player. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people say, "Well, he's doing really well. Like, how come he doesn't get power? But how come he doesn't?" Well, no, he doesn't understand the game at all.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I'll tell you exactly why he is not doing well. But they don't usually ask.
Yeah, and one thing I'm going to throw, especially for like the coaches that are coaching young kids and maybe don't have the experience, like don't go into it like trying to over deliver on what you can provide in terms of the hockey. Right. Like it's better to try to be someone who's motivating and teaches the kids about like their teamwork stuff and basic lessons. If you don't know technically what to teach them, because I remember once I was at the rink and it was young kids and they were playing a game, and a kid came out in front of his own net, and then he passed it away, and it was a turnover. They didn't score or whatever, but it was a turnover. And the coach just started screaming at this kid, and this kid comes back and he's telling him, he's like, "You never ever go in front of your own net ever. You never do that." And I'm like, well, like sometimes you could do that.
Sometimes you
like
can.
Sometimes you can go in front of your own net. Like it's not never ever ever, right?
It's never never, and it's never always.
Yeah, like if you can have if you have another option that you can take, that's fine. But if that is your option, then that's what you're doing.
Yeah. Hey, coach, if I got 5 guys lined up on the wall on this side and I'm coming around the net, do I go to the wall?
Yeah.
Or do I go in front of my net?
Exactly. Right. So you want me to throw it into the scramble up the wall instead of going in front of the net where the lane's open? So it's like it's things like that. You think you're teaching them hockey, but you actually don't know hockey, so you're not really in a good position to do that. So it's better to take that approach of, okay, like let's just teach them some team stuff and some life lesson stuff and whatever, and you can do that, and that's great. But
what you do as a youth hockey coach, if you don't know what you're doing, is you go to somebody and give me some basic stuff. How do I break out? How do I do a defensive zone that's fairly teachable?
Yeah.
That I was not going to scramble my brains teaching it. And how do we score goals, penalty kill, and
just simple stuff.
Simple stuff.
Yeah, simple stuff.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
And the kids will do the work. So.
I agree. Okay, that was my question.
Yeah, so you go to the next part. We were talking about agents, right?
Yeah. So talking. So this is another hot topic. I'm excited. I'm actually really excited to talk about this one because we touch it a lot, but we never actually like dig into it. So I'm excited about actually digging into it because there's so much. I don't know if confusion's the right word, but there's like a misunderstanding about agents that's out there. It's like people think they're for things that they aren't for, and whatever. And one of the things I said when we were talking the last episode is that we kind of crack on people that think they need to get an agent a lot. Like we mentioned it a lot, how you don't need an agent, you don't need this, you don't need that. And then I pointed out that most kids that are playing in the OHL or playing, guys that are in the NHL for sure, all have agents. So at what point, so for somebody listening, that could be confusing because we sit here and say you don't need an agent, but then they have agents. So where's the line where you need to get one, where it's appropriate to get one, what you would want it for, and what it's not for, when you don't need one, and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna kind of peel into all of that today to try to clarify a lot of that stuff. So I'm looking forward to this. This is gonna be a good one. I know
it'll be good. And I'm glad we're doing this because I think a lot of time it comes out as a negative. But
that's why I wanted to do it especially because a lot of times it sounds like we're cracking on the agent thing, but
and I'm gonna do my best to show both sides and to show when it's necessary and stuff. But I guess I wrote a few notes down just so I can not be all over the map, which I'll be all over the map anyways. But so like, what is an agent? Like, what's it all about? So I just put down, it's like anything in hockey. There's a good and a bad side. There's a necessary and an unnecessary side. Yeah. And there's a time and there's a place and there's an age and that's appropriate and all that kind of stuff. Having said all that, some people, like we talked about with the coaches and something else earlier, is that some people get into hockey so they can be in hockey. They have no business. They don't have any scars. Like my face looks like, I
right
pluck my eyebrows with a machete, right? Right? When teeth are loose, like all that stuff. There's a reason for that. It's because I played hockey at a pretty good level. So like there's a badge of honor that goes with being able to talk about hockey and maybe having the right to get into it. But some people just want to be hockey to get into it. So that's why like the analytic nerds are all over it. And if you notice something, they create jobs for each other. So so now they got into the business and they created jobs for all analytics. And in order to do the next job to work with this guy, you got to be in analytics. So now you have a bunch of nerds running hockey. And it's all analytics, and they don't understand the heart, the balls, the guy in the room and stuff like that because it doesn't match numbers. So it's a different world, but they've done that and they've created that. So they will do anything to stay in hockey. I know people that have asked me when I've done skills for pro teams and for OHL teams and stuff. Hey, can you get me in? Get me in. I'll just do the video. I'll do the video, man. I'll do the video. It's like, you want to be in hockey that bad that you'll sit there and clip video for $2,000 a year? But yeah, they want to be in that bad. So that's like the agents. It doesn't matter what role they're in, right? As long as they can get in, they feel like they're part of hockey. And Eric and I were talking about this yesterday. It's like some people that are the owners and the general, not necessarily the general managers, but the people that are in these roles that aren't necessarily hockey guys. Does that term make sense? Hockey guys, like guys that have played the game, that have been around it and lived it, and you know,
that's what we mean when we say
they can't breathe because their septum is crap, right? You know what I mean? Like real hockey players.
Yeah.
Like I love hockey, like in the glass, and I can talk about hockey, certain aspects of hockey, but like Eric was saying, like I can't go to a job coaching a team where you have these people that they get there at 6 so they can start talking about hockey. And talk about it and just go over stuff that it has no bearing on what's actually happening. It's exhausting. But they're so eager to be in hockey that's what they'll do, and they'll call you at all hours and you'll watch video because they got their jacket now. It's like, cool. So, and then there's, what was I going to say? The possible less better.
You're saying that.
So, and then like going with that coach, you know, a lot of people represent themselves in the game like they belong in the game, they've been in the game, but it's misrepresentation. But they can fool people because they talk loud, they talk like they know, they put a scowl on their face like they actually were the coach of the Chicago Blackhawks one day in 1947 when you didn't have to be nice to people, and they walk around like that. It's not actually not how it is anymore. Yeah, right. And so it comes out like they actually know, and they'll say it with certainty what you need to do. Yeah, I've had people tell me with my kid, I'm not going to say his name, he owns a team. And he told me, he goes, you have to get your son in the brick tournament. I said, well, what's the brick tournament? And the brick tournament is for, I think, 9-year-olds. It's in Edmonton. It's a week-long tournament that you got to get him there so he gets on the radar. And I'm like, you own a team, man. Not doing it. But he said it with certainty. He goes, no, you got to do it. Yeah. If it wasn't me, a lot of people would say, okay, I got to get him on the brick team. Yeah. This is important to start building his resume for when he's 15 years old, 16 years old. I mean, it has nothing to do with anything. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that was one. So people are on the take and they know nothing, like a lot of people. That's in general. But then there's people that are good. They're good. And then I think a lot of the time the people that are good and honest, they don't get the love because they're honest and good. Yeah. You know, like if someone was to ask Eric Wellwood, like, what are my chances of playing? And he said, well, if I can be honest with you, he'll tell him honestly. And then the dad would cry. Yep. Cry. Or lose their shit because he's not good enough. Well, no, he's not. That's the honest truth. Yeah. But a lot of agents, a lot of people that want to get in the business will tell you a different story.
Yes. Okay. So you're going to go. Yeah. So let me just, I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. So you're saying a lot of people get into hockey just because they want to be in hockey. Yes. So as that relates to starting to get into the talk about agents now, I think your point is that you kind of have to watch out for like who's in hockey just because they want to be in hockey, who's in that's actually doing a good job. So when the topic of agent comes up, you're saying that there's some guys that are going to be in, they're going to do a good job, they're reputable, they have credentials, they have whatever backing up their success in the industry as an agent, even though they haven't been a hockey person necessarily. That could very well be true. Right. And then the flip side is also true, where you have a bunch of people that are in it just because they want to be in hockey for no other reason than that, whether it's the analytics guy or the agent that just is doing anything they can to make a buck, to be involved in the game, and they don't have all of those things. So that's right. Like I was saying with respect to the agents, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the guys that are in it to be in it, and the guys that are in it because they're going to do a good job and actually have a reputation, and they're serious about what they're doing. Yes. Okay. That's exactly what I'm saying. Cool. Yeah. So as a kid, as a parent, you have to decipher that eventually. Mm-hmm. But you don't even have to decipher it until you understand the business. Yeah. So what is an agent? And I want to use the word advisor as well, because some people use the word advisor. And in college, that's where they use advisors because they don't believe in agents. I don't understand. It's the same word. They do the same thing. Advisory, like whatever. So let's be clear here. Yeah. Well, come on, man. But they both start with an A. I know. It's they have the same role. So what is it? What is an agent and an advisor? What is it actually? Okay, actually, they represent a pair. Like, and I could use it for my own experience as a player, coaching, and my son. Mm-hmm. Okay, they represent players, and what their job is it's actually what you are is a buffer between the player and the team and the management, right? Mm-hmm. So that I'm just looking at what I wrote. Yeah, you can just read it. It's fine. No. And they deal with the business side of hockey.
So do you need to be a hockey player to deal with the business side of hockey? No. If you go to a OHL, we just did our contract, and we have an agent, and Big George said, do you want me to talk to Ian? I said, yep, send it through. And so he goes through, the process was go through the agent first and then come through us. Or at least you're going to be going through the agent, because if you tell me, we're looking at someone else, there's a possibility my emotions get involved, or Charlie's.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So I'd rather filter that through the agent, which would be Ian. And he did a great job. And then he's smart enough to filter what Charlie and I needed to know back. Because I don't need to know every detail what everybody thinks. Right? So at the end of the day, we had our contract. It's very simple. In the OHL, there's a package that you can play. It's a big package. So one Charlie got is if he plays a game, he gets 4 years of school and there's X amount of money and blah, 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 blah. Okay? Nothing more. There's another package that if you play one game, you get 1 year. Next year, you play one game, you get another year. So that's basically the only difference. There's some money that you can get for development fees. And what else do you want to play junior hockey in the OHL? There's nothing else. So do you need an agent? It can be very helpful, and some guys are very good. So they're to do contracts, and an advisor or an agent gets paid once a player signs an NHL contract. And the fee is anywhere from 1% to 5%. Okay, that's what their job is.
That's a legit, like a real agent.
Real agent.
That's what they do.
That's a real agent.
So hang on, I'm going to sharpen that again. So you're going, so you get an agent. The agent's job is to help you deal with contracts, business stuff, anything surrounding any business dealings that have to do with their player that they're representing.
Yes.
They're going to have a hand to make sure that goes smoothly.
Yes.
That is what the role of the agent is. So if you're someone who's not dealing with that set of circumstances necessarily, then you don't really need to have one. If there's no business things you're dealing with respect to the game of hockey,
none.
An agent is not necessary at all.
Not necessary. Zero.
Yeah.
What do you need it for?
Right.
To go play?
Yeah,
to tell you you're good?
Well, because, and I know we're going to get into this, but that is what they're for. So if that isn't what is the reality for you in your circumstance right now, then you don't need it, because that is not what it's for.
Right.
But as I'm sure you're getting into, is most people think that they're for something else, right?
Yes, and I'll go into that after.
Yeah.
But so the thing is that there's very, very good agent advisors that do a great bang-up job. Then there are people that throw, and all of them do. Like, I don't mean this to be a negative or a positive. It's any business. You're taking a pile of mud and you're throwing it against the wall. Some of it's got to stick. So that meaning some will say yes, some will say no. And a high-end agent like Charlie's, like Bobby Orr's group, Octagon, Pat Morris group, when they throw mud on the wall, it's good mud. That mud most likely has some a really good chance of sticking, if I can say it that way, to make the money. They're identifying really top end prospects.
Right. Yes. Just to be clear. Sense? Yeah. So the mud is the prospects. Yes. So they're going after as many top guys that they can get, because these are the guys that will get them the payday one day, most likely.
That's right.
Yeah.
So those are guys that and they identify them, at a certain age and throw the mud on the wall, and that might make it. Then there's people that just want to get in hockey, and they'll take anybody, and they'll represent them. To do what? I don't know, but to represent them. And I'll get into that after. Okay? So what they do is they negotiate the deals. Right? Like, so at the NHL level, once they get their 1% and stuff like that, so the teams will, and same with the OHL, some people just rather talk to an agent because, not only when I speak to, like, let's say George in Guelph, he might enjoy talking to me. And you might just say, you know what, Andy, I'd just like to deal with you, but I'm going to say, I just want you to deal with him because I don't want the emotion. But he might be the guy too. So I'd rather deal with your agent because I don't want to have problems with your kid and I. We'll just take the dealing between the agent and I, right? And the agent will do that. So, so once you get to the NHL, it's to do the deal. Now the NHL deal is not complicated either, right? Basically, this is where the analytics come in. So if you're third line mucker and you want to make $6 million a year, the analytics say, no, you can't. You can't do it. So like what happens is the agent goes in and they do the analytics with the team. This is what we got. Yeah, there's a comparable. Okay, let's put a deal together. It's kind of that simple. Term, blah, 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 blah. It's pretty much that simple. So from there, they do the deal. If there's endorsement deals, if there's trades that goes through the agents, so the emotions are out. And that's what they do. Endorsements, whatever. That's what they do.
Yeah.
So as far as anything to do with hockey, nothing. So that part's that part. Do you have anything right now?
Yeah. So just again on the NHL part of it, like once you actually get there and you're talking about, they're helping you get your contracts or whatever, then they're comparing. Like you were kind of, you didn't really fully explain it, but they're comparing you to someone else who's of similar caliber to you.
Yeah.
To try to get the maximum you could get as a player that's in that role. So if you're a second line forward that scores 25 goals a year or so, whatever, then when it's contract time, they're going to go to all the other second line forwards that score around 25 goals a year. What do they make?
That's right.
Right. And then you work out the like little details, but generally you're getting something around what one of those types of players makes. And that's what the agent is doing. The agent is saying, okay, well, he should be getting about this because this is what this guy gets who's the same or about the same, so that the team isn't saying, well, we're only going to give you this, which is way less because it's better for us or whatever.
That's right.
But again, like that, this is what they're for. Like they're for this.
That's right.
Business stuff. Like that is what the agent is meant to be doing for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so let me just back up to my situation. Like, I had an agent. Now the agent that I had when I played, he has this huge agency with some good players, and he's got a training center in Montreal, and it's huge, and it's really impressive, sort of, kind of, if you care. And I liked the guy a lot. I liked him, but he was just building his business. I actually liked the person, but I don't like what it is now. So when Charlie was coming through the ranks, it was major Bantam, and we were starting to get calls from people. And I already knew, in my mind, there was one person and maybe two that I would have said, okay, let's have a real talk. And if they didn't call, I wasn't calling anybody, or I wasn't going to say yes to anyone. Because it was about it's my family and my son. I want good quality people. I'm not saying people aren't quality, just for my life. So they started calling, and then finally, Ian called and said, "Andy, like, actually one of his guys did, and said that we're really looking at having the opportunity to represent Charlie." And I said, "Well, that's you and this other guy are the only ones that I'm looking at." And then just Ian called and he says, "Yeah, like I'd like to do it just myself, like." I'd like to do it personally with Charlie. And I said, well, Ian, I'm glad that you asked, because you're the only, you and another person, the only one. And we have a bit of a relationship. I know what you're all about. I know your experience. I know you're a good person. You don't talk shit. You don't promise shit. I would like that. So there we go. That was a good relationship. We don't talk. Like, it's not like we talk to the agent about stuff. It's like certain times he has to have a conversation with me, and we're friends though, me and Charlie, or my wife and Charlie and I. Other than that, we don't talk. Why was I saying that? I was saying that because
you're talking
it takes the emotion out of things, and he's just a good person. And so my other point is that people were calling me.
Yeah, because you were talking about,
and this is this is a very, very important piece to this. People were calling us. So if you are not getting phone calls from agents, you don't need one. 99.9% of the times you don't need one. The reason you don't need one, because the agents they know scouts, they do some scouting, they get the lists, they know who's who in the zoo, if that's a term, and they have an idea. So it's a race to get the top guys. Because if you don't have a top guy, how are you going to make any money? Mm-hmm. They're there to make money off of you at some point. So like I remember, so that was my point when guys came to my house as an agent talking to me. I was like so impressed as a kid, like guys coming from Toronto, from Ottawa, from New York, coming to sit at our shitty little kitchen table, drinking out of our shitty mugs, having a cup of coffee with their fancy suits and stuff, telling my parents and me how great I am. And you feel like you're something, right? But at the end of the day, what they actually saw was, look at this guy. He could put pucks in the net. In 3 years, he's going to make $1 million, and I can have 30,000 of it every year. Mm-hmm. And if I do that a few times, I make a really good living. That's what it is. Yep. So when people are oh, you have an agent and they're impressed. It's like, you can be impressed, but it's like, it's your ego getting fed that, wow, I have an agent.
Yep.
But your agent, I mean, there's a job to do. If they do it well, it's worth every penny.
Yep.
But if you have an agent just to have an ego, it's there's no point. At the end of the day, they want your money.
Yeah.
And so to go back to like the beginning of this thing, if you want to hand over your money to someone that doesn't have these scars, or doesn't have the battle scars and the wounds and haven't put the miles on and don't understand, is that what you want to do? So they feel good? No thanks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that are takers. They're going to tell you all the things that you want to hear.
Well, yeah. So I'm going to throw a caveat on that. You were saying if like people are going to call you, if you need an agent, they're going to be calling you when you're 15 and 14, and they're going to be agencies that are reputable and they have players. And this is something that I was going to say is like if someone is calling you and they say, hey, I'd love to represent you, we think you're a good player, whatever, you should be able to find some information on them
100%.
And who they've worked with
100%.
and what do they have to offer you, because this is what happens. There's like the top tier group of players that all the good agencies and big agencies go after.
Yeah, it's a fight.
Yeah, once you get past that into that second tier of players where like they're pretty good but they're not the top end players, that's when you get like the Joe Schmuck agents coming after you.
Well, you do. Okay, let's just take that. So let's say that. Okay, so when Aaron Ekblad, he kind of grew up with me, so he was first overall, and I said, Aaron, I got a couple people that I know they're probably talking to you. I have a couple people that want to talk to you that, and there's one particularly who was Ian. I said I really think very, very highly of the guy, and I think he'd do a great job. He used to work with the NHLPA. He'd do a great job for you. And Aaron met him, but at the time, I think he went with Bobby Orr's group, and but that's the top. Okay, so that's that. So to say that the second tier of guys NHL are, and I don't know if that you meant it that way, are like you get the schmuck agents. No, because to play in the NHL, you're still top.
Yeah, that's not what I meant. I was talking about for kids. Like, so if you're in your draft year, like let's say this to the OHL.
Yeah.
So the top tier kids that are going first, second, third round or whatever, they're getting the calls from those agencies because like you're saying, those big agencies are trying to hop on early. That's right. Because these are the kids that will be the top prospects for the NHL draft, and that's when they get paid, and once they go to the NHL. Yeah. After you get outside of that, when if you're on a AAA team and you're the second line guy who maybe scored 15 goals that year or whatever, so you're not going to be a high pick. Maybe you actually won't get drafted. Maybe you'll get drafted late or whatever. That group of kids is what I'm talking about.
Good yet.
Right. Who's going to come knocking on your door, if any, are most likely going to be those types of guys that are pretend agents.
That's right.
And this is what we see this all the time. It happened to me because I was one of those next tier guys. I wasn't a guy that was a top prospect. Yeah. And the people that talked to me were always those random in between. I would get some business card or someone would pull me out of the dressing room after my game to talk to me or whatever. And that happened in through my first few years as a junior too. People trying to come and represent me. Yeah. And these were all people where I went and did a Google search on them and I didn't know who they were. There was no information about these people. And that's not to say that you might find a diamond in the rough and this guy's just starting and it's his first
1,000%.
Maybe that's, but more likely than not, it's someone who wants to charge you some money and he'll pump your tires and tell you how great you are and whatever. And that's kind of the dividing line. So if you're outside of that top tier for kids, obviously everyone in the NHL that has an agent, it's going to be a decent agent because they have a bunch of NHL players for the most part, I would imagine. But I'm talking for like the kids, kids that are just starting to go on this path, because this is where the confusion about agents comes in. Like there's no confusion about agents when you're in the NHL. There's no confusion about agents once you're a few years into the OHL. There's no confusion. Everyone understands why they have them, what they're for.
And to say that, how excited people get or how needy they are about, I need an agent. Andy, do I need an agent? This guy called, and we're all excited. Once you get there, and I mean, Aaron did it. Once you get there and you realize what they do and what they don't do, it's like it pisses you off that you have to pay them. Mm-hmm. And I don't, but I've got a different perspective. When you make a deal with someone and you negotiate, like for example, Ian, if Charlie happens to play in the National Hockey League and Ian gets his whatever percent, I don't want Charlie to ever look and say, well, he didn't deserve. No, he did. He did his job. He did his job when it counted, and when it counts. You can't do that. But a lot of the guys, as they move on, they go, you don't even need an agent. A lot of guys will just say, you don't need it, because really you don't, but you can and you do to a certain degree.
Because it's helpful when it's helpful, but the agents are helping you at the beginning when you don't understand what exactly you should be looking for and what exactly you need. So for example, if you get, for you in your situation, you guys get Charlie's contract, and like, you don't necessarily know what you're looking at. Like, you don't necessarily know what you should or shouldn't be, like what you should or shouldn't have included in there. You don't know if maybe this sounds really good, but maybe there's a better one you could have got.
That's right.
You know, so any package you get, obviously it's exciting and you're getting stuff. Yeah. And this is like, oh, look at all this stuff I'm getting. But what if it's not the appropriate stuff? Or what if it's not exactly what you should get? Or what if you could get more? Or someone of his caliber should get more? Yeah. And that's when the agent is helpful, when you don't know. Once you're a professional, now you know, you get how it works. Yeah. Maybe the agent seems to be less useful now, but they did the work when it counted earlier for you.
That's right.
You know? Yeah. So I agree with that perspective, but that's why I'm talking, and what I'm talking about, more to that group of kids and parents that don't know yet. Like, they're coming up to when this is relevant. So you get outside that tier of first to third rounders into, or fourth, whatever it is, fifth, whatever. Yeah. And then you get the kids that are good, but not top tier. And this is where you get the guys knocking on your door that you got to kind of watch out for, because you don't know who they are or what they're coming from, you know?
So like, for example, there's, it puts me in a really bad spot. I'm going to tell you why. Sometimes you get, like, the kids, I always tell them, like, you have any issues, or the parents too, right? Not just you're on the ice, tell you how to do it. If you have questions and whatever, call me. I'll help you navigate through it. The hard part is, it's being honest and telling them the truth that without saying, no, it's just a bunch of garbage. And that's what happens a lot of the time. So I had 4-5 different calls in a span of a week from local players. So I'm going to just say something very clearly. Locally, it's impossible, not impossible, but highly, highly, highly unlikely that there's 4 kids at any age that need representation at 14, 15 years old. Good representation. Highly, 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 highly unlikely. Okay? So I got 4 or 5 that week. So what happened is people would go get their skates sharpened or went to the sports shop, and there was a guy who wants to be in hockey who's like bird dogging for a guy who wants to be an agent. So he's telling these kids, hey, you should go meet this guy. He's great, got this thing, great agent, he can represent you, get you going, and get you somewhere. So the parents or a kid would call me and say, hey, talk to him. I said, who are you talking about? I said, I've never heard his name, but I'm going to do my due diligence and say, I'm going to make 1 or 2 phone calls. I already know the answer, but I can't just sit there and say, no, he's shit.
Yeah, you got to check.
So I checked through Ian and a couple of OHL sources, and they said, yeah, I never heard of him. So it's like, so I talked to the kids, and I'm like, okay, look, a lot of people try to use you and abuse you and blah, 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 blah. I said, you ask questions, you can listen to people all you want, but the reality is you're probably not going to find your agent going to get a pair of skates.
Yeah.
Not 5 in a week. Yeah. There's probably some weird stuff going on there, right? And then part of that is what I'll talk about is what agents don't do. Okay? Mm-hmm. Agents, this is what I didn't want for my son, and I really for anyone. Said, what do I not want an agent do for my son or my family or when I played is I don't want to be a promoter of my son in the terms of look how great he is in hockey. Yeah. Okay? Because to me, the way you promote yourself in hockey is be the best person on the ice. That's the only thing that speaks. Yep. So if someone has to tell people you got to watch him, he's the best. Like, look, see how he does a crossover? Amazing, isn't it? No, it's not, actually. Yeah. He every game, that's how you promote yourself. So I don't need someone to go and say, yeah, this guy's the best, he's the best, he's the best. 'Cause now you're actually bugging people. Mm-hmm. If I'm a scout or a GM, I'm going to notice who I like myself. I don't need you to tell me, Mr. Agent guy. I don't need to tell him how to play hockey. We talked about that. Don't tell my son how to play hockey or where he should train, how he should train. Yeah. You can always get the message that, like, so with Ian, he uses some of his clients to explain to Charlie what they do, which I like. It's always, he sends a message, always work hard. So he'll say, like, Tyler Seguin, he does this. You should maybe take a look at doing that. But he would never tell us how to play hockey or how to train because he doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He does the business side. I'll take care, and the coach will take care of the playing side. I don't want him to tell my son how great he is, because that's just fluff. You actually don't even know how great he is. You'll know how great he is by getting a contract offer. You have no idea how great my son is. I don't need him to get connections. There's you're going to make it by being a good hockey player. I mean, but through his business, yes, he's going to talk to teams, and that at that point, when teams talk to him, of course, he's going to say the right things or the good things or whatever. And he's not responsible for my son's success. A lot of people say, well, it was my agent. No, it wasn't your agent. Your agent doesn't play hockey. Your agent takes your contract, builds the contract. That's it. That's all. There's nothing else he's responsible for. And we want him to be real. Tell him how hard it is every day. So if you can do that, I'm happy.
Yeah. So the first thing, when you're saying how he doesn't tell Charlie how to play hockey,
right? And
this is right. It's like we pointed out, like your job is to worry about the business, the contracts, the papers, the making sure the circumstances are as optimal as possible for the client that you're representing. That's your job. You worry about that. Yeah. We'll worry about hockey. That's first. So especially when you're young, like when they get more into like all of this stuff, at least for me right now, like it's all under the guise of like, we're talking about young kids getting agents. Like that is the context. It's not for professionals where like you're going to touch on later, and agents have more influence and play a bigger role in certain ways and whatever at the professional level, which you'll talk about in a bit. Yeah. But yeah. So you worry about the business. We play hockey, like we'll do the hockey part. That's the first thing. And then the second thing that I wanted to clarify too, and I like the way you worded it, because when we talked about it earlier, I threw you some pushback about the promotion part of it. And I know you're going to get into what other people expect sometimes of agents, but you do get that bit of indirect promotion because, like you said, the agent is talking to teams and they're hearing your name and that kind of stuff. So you do get indirect promotion, but the point is not the promotion. Like you didn't get an agent so that he would promote you.
That's right.
That is not the point. Yeah. You get indirect promotion because he's talking about your kid and his name is thrown around more than it would be without an agent. So if you want to call that promoting, that could be a form of promoting. Yeah. But it isn't. I'm calling and saying, hey, you need to watch him because he's really good, or you have to have this kid on your team because he's the best at this, this, and this. Like that is not his point. It's you guys have identified him as being a really good player. I represent him. Let's talk about what he deserves as a player. Yeah. It's not, hey, I'm going to chase you down to make you watch this kid to offer him something to get him somewhere. Like that's what the difference is when we talk about the promoting thing.
Yeah. So like if Steve Stayhouse from Hamilton Bulldogs happens to be like, he might call Charlie's agent and say, who are you representing this year, Ian? And we got this guy, and he doesn't have anyone else. His guys that work for him have a couple. But I got this guy. Oh, okay. Well, tell me about the kid. Well, he's not going to sit there. Well, the kid's an asshole. I don't like him.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty shitty at hockey, but I represent him anyways. Like that's not what he's going to say. He's going to say, tell him all the good things, right? Because it's first date. Tell everybody how great you are. Yeah. Vice versa, he might if someone's interested in him, he's going to tell him all the good stuff, like and tell him why he's a good kid and all that kind of stuff. But so that would be the promotion. That'd be the extent of it.
Well, and just another point on that, they're calling an agent that's reputable and has had clients in the past, and they have
worked with people represented before.
That's why
success.
And that's why he would be getting that call in the first, like Ian would be getting that call in the first place.
That's right.
Because whatever team knows, like he's a reliable source that has produced players, so I'm going to call him and ask him.
That's right.
But if you have Joe Nobody agent, like nobody's calling him. No. So he has to go call people. Like he's got to go be a pain in the ass trying to, and most of them won't even do that because they don't have the connections to be able to do that anyways.
That's right.
But no one is calling that guy to ask. So that promotion that anyone would get if they have an agent that is reputable and high end, they wouldn't need that promotion anyways because they're already a top prospect.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter. They would have already found that kid. They would have already had him on the radar. And now they're just.
But where it could get a little bit beneficial is if you have kid A, B, and C, and they're asking about your player, and it's like really toss up, equally they're good in hockey, and all of a sudden the guy goes, listen. Like for Charlie, I just have to say it. I could use someone else, but I'm just giving a real story. Well, I'll send you a video of his working out. He works out at the gym. I can send you a video working the way you work him out. That's impressive. comes from the genetics or the background that he comes from, like that, that might raise someone a little bit. I don't do it, but he might say that, or maybe they didn't know. They really, oh yeah, he's growing up with all these guys. Oh, that raises a kid's stock. That's promotion, but it's just being honest. Yeah. Or, some other kid, he's a really good kid. Well, why is he good? The kid on his own, he started every Christmas, this kid in wherever he's from, he started a thing where he gets gloves and mitts for poor people. He does it on his own. That's the lead. Oh, okay, that's neat. So you could do things to separate.
Well, and that is what the point is, though. It's a separator. It's not the thing that's getting you noticed in the first place. Right. And that is what people think is the case. So it's like, I know it can get like kind of fuzzy how we're talking about it, but it's like, you're already really good. You're already a top tier talent. An agent comes to you because you're already really good. Yeah. And you're already going to get those opportunities. So the agents are trying to jump on you early because the contract that might come later is what they're after. Yeah. So if you have player A, B, and C that are all about equal, they're already all awesome players. So the agent might just say, hey, yeah, this kid's good at this, this, and this. And this other kid's agent's going to say, well, he's good at this, this, and this. Yeah. And then that team goes, oh, we like this better. Yeah. Boom. But it's not the difference between somebody noticing you or not, or like you getting drafted or not, that's not how it works, right?
And if people think that someone out there will help you get drafted, it's not true. Eric Laugh, who we were talking about the other day, Eric Wellwood, and I was talking to Trevor Letowski with the Spits, and because he was watching a thing, and he goes, hey, I really like this kid. There's 3 kids. He goes, I really like them. They're good, Andy. I go, oh yeah, they're good players, man. He goes, not that I can do anything about it because I'm just the coach. Yeah. So, people that were around were going, what do you mean nothing to do with it? No, he's the coach. He has nothing to do with picking the team. Yeah. And who was I saying other than him? Oh, Eric. Eric was the same thing. He goes, what are you talking about? You can help him get drafted. He goes, I was the coach and I had no say. Yeah. I could have promoted all the kids here from when they wouldn't listen to me for anything because I got the GMs and scouts have their own agendas and ideas. Yeah. I just have to coach who they give me.
Well, and it's like we've said this kind of before. What I think people do is they broaden out how relevant that help is. Right. They take it too far. Yeah. Like how much it will actually help you and with just the promotion piece, because that's like the biggest thing that people misunderstand about the agents is they think it's like this promotion tool. And that isn't what it's for. It can help in the small ways indirectly, like you just said. But people think like, oh, if I get an agent when I'm 14 and 15, that will get me 10 more opportunities than I would have got. And that's just not the case. No. That just isn't how it works. So you have to keep it in context of what they're for. And then maybe when that promotion piece comes in. But it's like most of the work is already done before their promotion becomes 100%. Relevant. Yeah. Yeah. So that's my point on that, at least. Yeah.
So this will be kind of quick. Do you need an agent? Okay. So that's the question. Do I need an agent? Everyone's asking. Okay. You went through all this shit about 9 yards and how Eric's mom's hot and your wife's hot and your dad's got curly hair. But do I need a freaking agent? Right? To make a short story long. Here it is. Do you need an agent? No. But many teams would prefer to deal with one. So maybe yes. If you're a really high ranked player, it can be beneficial. But it's not absolutely necessary. Good for taking the emotion out of it. So yes, if that's the case, if you're highly ranked and you want to have someone take the emotion out of it. If you have to go, we kind of talked about this, you have to go looking for an agent, then you most likely don't need one. At the end of the day, an agent is looking to grab the best players, invest in them, and eventually get a payoff. Period. That's it. That's all. So Here's my thing on the red flags. I think we kind of already did this because we were all over the place, even though I did my notes. That's my brain, though. That's why you keep reeling me in.
Yeah, that's all right.
You're looking at me, too, like I got glasses on or something. Okay. So red flags for me is when someone aggressively approaches you and they're like really needy, like a sales guy. It's like if you go to a girl, give all the guys some dating advice here. If you go up to a girl and you go up to her, oh, my God, you're the best ever, and I'd marry you right now, and then like, can I buy you dinner, and can I like move in with you and all that stuff? They're gonna go like, whoa, right? You're selling it hard, man. But if you kind of stand there and look, give them one of those, and kind of don't really pay that much attention to them, you might pique their interest a little bit, and then bump into them, or slowly make your way. Then you might have you don't look like you're needy, right? So it's the same thing with an agent, right? If they're coming at you hard, like you're a hot chick, easy, man. Because you don't need them. So they need you, right? Yeah. So they're looking for something. And they're going to do stuff like, if they talk to you, say, here's what we're going to do. We're going to promote you. We're going to develop you. A lot of them think they're going to impress you by, we're going to have these camps. We're going to have our camps and we're going to develop you. It's like, what agents in developing players? Yeah. How do you know that? Yeah. How would I need?
Yeah.
Right? So they think that's a selling feature. Like for me, that's not a selling feature. I'll find who I need, and I might ask you for some advice sometime if you know someone, but don't get in my grill, charge me to go to a development camp with guys that, whatever. You get the point.
Yeah. There's
a fee, or they're going to get you to the next level. If there's a fee in youth hockey, it's nothing. So here's one that I was talking about earlier about the guy that 4 or 5 in 1 week. The fee was, I think, $1,500 or $2,000 for the first year. I'm like, for what? Well, it costs money for them to make phone calls and chase you around, right? Well, that's their problem. What are you paying for? What are they going to give you? We say, well, they if you play in the OHL, if you get in the OHL, I think it's either drafted or played, then they don't charge you. But if you're playing midget, let's say, and they get you to junior B or tier 2 level, junior A or something a little bit higher, then they cost $1,500. Well, that's stupid, because you could do that on your own. You don't need some guy to go and promote people and whatever. They call you all the time and they bug. You don't need them because it's just a pain in the ass and a distraction. And then of course the no hockey experience. Don't represent anyone that stand out. Something that you mentioned. Don't like that because typically they just want to get into hockey. Now, having said that, you asked a question earlier. Do you have, for example, was Ian a hockey player? Well, he played minor hockey. Well, why would you get him as an agent then if he doesn't know hockey? Well, he doesn't need to know hockey. He needs to know the business of hockey, and he needs to do that part. Doesn't have to know hockey. And maybe he does know hockey. Doesn't even matter to me, but he knows the business side, right? But hockey experience, like people. What I'm talking about though is people that tell you all the things they're going to do without real hockey experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. None of the things that I don't feel is good, because this might be common sense and maybe it's not. Ever hear the story of Alan Eagleson with Bobby Orr and a lot of his players?
No, which story?
I'm just asking.
I don't know.
Oh. So came out, Alan Eagleson went to jail for this. So he's one of like the original agents. And what happened is he was milking money from them. He stole. These guys busted their ass and stole money. Yeah. So I'm not saying that, although there is stuff like that. But when someone says, okay, so in our group, what we're going to do for you is we're going to represent you and we're going to promote you, and we're going to have these camps that you can go to and develop through our agency, and then we have someone that'll buy your real estate for you and invest your money for you and do your taxes and do your law and do your traveling and all that stuff. It's all under one umbrella. To me, no thanks. No thanks. How? Because I like you, Eric, does that mean I have to like all your friends? If I trust you and that's what we're doing business, doesn't mean that your lawyer is the guy that I need and your tax guy is the guy I need. Yeah. Sometimes it could be beneficial, but that's a red flag to me. It's too much under one roof. Yeah. So if one thing goes south, you got one criminal in there. If you happen to make it, you're screwed, right?
Yeah, for sure.
One argument even. So they got this big, huge team of people. It's like, I don't know, whatever. Who needs or who benefits from an agent or advisor? High-end prospects. We did this with a real opportunity to sign a contract. That's who needs it.
Yeah, I want to hit that one hard. Okay, so like if we can boil like all the stuff we're talking about, if we can boil all this really down to just like one easy sentence that people can take away, is that if you're not a top prospect when you are 14, 15, 16, if you are not one of the best kids, then you do not need one.
No.
That is like the easy way to say that. Like that's the simplest way to boil it down.
No contract anywhere else.
That's it, because you're not dealing with the business of hockey. Right. Like the likelihood of you dealing with the business part of hockey is very low, meaning you don't need to have one.
That's right.
That's the bottom line. If you're not an elite prospect, don't need to have one.
In fact, I believe, I could be wrong, Junior B and Tier 2 might be different, but Junior B is pay to play. So
yeah, you play there's a fee.
Is that what it is?
There's a fee.
You have to pay $1,200 or something to play.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you need a contract.
Yeah, there's no
Right.
business part of
That's
hockey
right. That's
when
right.
you're at those levels.
Right
Until you're in your situation where there's a 5-page stack of paper on your desk that you have to read through and sign, and you need someone to check it.
Yeah.
There's no reason. There's no reason at all. There's none.
That's
and
right.
the other two things actually, I wanted to ask you. The other thing, agent, do they have to be a lawyer? Is the other one that I was going to throw out there?
No,
because that's.
But you don't have to be a lawyer. It helps because there's legalese. But it's, I mean, I think there's I forget the term for this, but the term just means good intent. I forget the name of it, but I think there's a standard players agreement at NHL and which is the legal words, and that's kind of like a fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be a lawyer, but you have to to be a certified agent. You have to get the certified agent program.
Yeah.
NHL certification.
Okay.
To be an NHL, but you don't have to be because it's not necessary to be a lawyer. No.
Okay. And then the last one that you want to be reminded of was talking about like agents that have some power and have some pull versus like a Joe Schmuck agent.
Yeah, where they become very important. So okay, I want to just back up for 1 second.
Yeah.
When we say that if someone's not knocking at your door at 14, 15, that doesn't mean that you suck. That just means at that point.
Not at all. Not at all.
At that point, it's not necessary, to have an agent because you're not at this point identified as a top prospect.
Yep.
That can eventually make money for somebody.
At this point. Key phrase.
Does that mean if you play junior B for a year and tier 2 for a year, and at 18 you all of a sudden have developed and you go to college or you get drafted to the NHL? The guys get drafted out of junior B at times, like this happens. Does that mean that won't happen for you? No. It means so you may need an agent at 18, 17, whatever. So that's we're not in any way saying some kids are just identified as top prospects at 15.
Yeah. That's a very important point.
It's a very important point because it's not discouraging in any way.
Right. So like if let's say 14, 15, like okay, draft just happened, right? Bunch of kids that around here didn't get drafted.
Right.
Okay, so let's say you have a really awesome midget major year, then you have a really awesome year of junior, whether it's A or B or whatever, and then a school contacts you and they want you to come and be a part of their team, whatever, and now there's scholarship money involved, and now there's papers that you need for that. Well, now maybe it makes sense that you need someone to help you with that because you don't know what you're signing. You don't know what you're committing to. So now you just didn't have an agent, advisor, whatever, when you were 15, but now you're 17 or 18 or 19, and it's appropriate now that because you need someone to maybe help you with that stuff because now here comes the business again, right? The business part is coming in. But the promotion thing that we touched on earlier, it wasn't that. Yeah. But yes, we're not saying that because they're not knocking on your door when you're 15, that doesn't mean that you're not good or that you won't need an agent later or something like that.
And then if you are that guy, here's another thing that's gonna happen, is you don't have to go and look for one again because they will be looking for you. You can't hide a good hockey player. You can't do it. Mm-hmm. Right? So people know, and people are at different levels and stuff, but your day might come at 18. Yeah. And just to be honest with people, there's going to be kids, and we've done this with the draft several times. Some kids are drafted in the first round early. I've got a kid that works out with me every day who's a second overall pick. He's going to be playing at Queen's University this year. Yep. Right? Doesn't make him a bad person. Doesn't make him a bad hockey player. He was great at 16 years old, but as of right now, they're saying he doesn't have the potential to be a professional hockey player or an NHL hockey player. Whereas kids who were drafted or walk-ons or whatever are moving ahead of him. So it's not that. Yeah. So I want to be clear about that because it's very important because, like I said this to Charlie. I said this to all my kids, but you may have peaked, dude. I don't think he has, but you may have peaked. This might be as good as you get. So. Pretty good deal. You got your school paid for. That's pretty good. If that's the worst that happens, good deal for you. Yep. But if you've peaked, and someone else on your team that didn't even get drafted possibly, just works and gets better, and gets some hair on his body, and goes, oh my God, I'm turning into a man, and gets good at 18, then whatever. Yeah. Then they need it. So it's not who's there first. Yeah. Who lasts longest.
Yeah. And then the other thing that you said, just to be clear too, is I want to highlight you're still not gonna have to look for an agent if it comes later.
No.
So even if you're waiting till you're 17, if you're going to get a Division I scholarship, you're getting some attention.
Everyone knows you.
Yeah, you're getting some attention, and that means agent will find you.
Yeah. So, or okay, let's just say it doesn't, which this is just now a bullshit talk.
Yeah.
But if you're getting an offer, if people are talking from Michigan and Wisconsin and Boston College and got 5-6 teams that want to talk to you, if there's not an agent speaking with you, then you have the right to talk to, okay, Mr. Palazzolo, I'm really interested in coming to Boston College. Do you have representation there, Andy Pagwat? And I say, no. What the hell is that? I got oatmeal north of my eyebrows. What's an agent?
Yeah.
So Mr. Palazzolo says, well, it's someone that represents you so that you know that you're getting a fair deal. I can sit there and go, do you know anyone? And they'd say, yeah, here, I'm going to give you 5 names or 3 names. You call these people, I'll give you a recommendation, and you can talk to them and see if you like them. Mm-hmm. So you won't be stuck.
You'll have a reason. Yeah. Like, you'll never have to go into it blind where you're just like Google agent and find a phone number to call. Like, that won't be how it works. Yeah. It doesn't matter at what point they come. They're going to come and find you. You don't have to go find them.
Yeah, and conversely, as you said earlier, if you're going to get drafted in the first or second or third round in the OHL, it's not because you had an agent, it's because you got drafted. And if you get drafted in the second, third round, and everyone realizes who's representing them, you'll start getting some calls. Mm-hmm. So maybe I'll give like my little couple takeaways, and then I'll throw it to you. So first thing is, if you're having an agent is for kids that are the top prospects. Like, those are the kids when you're young. So when you're 15, 16 going into your draft, the kids that are going to need an agent are the kids that are the top prospects going in whatever draft. That means that they're going to come to you. You're going to be able to look up some information on them, and they're going to have a reputation of some sort. Yep. And most of the work in terms of your stock will already be done by that point. It's not done by the agent. The agent isn't going to do the promoting part for you. You're going to have done most of that legwork, and then all of it, and they might make up the difference between like a team maybe leaning more towards you versus another guy. Right. That might be the maximum that you get. Yep. But you don't need to go look for one. Right. If they're not knocking on your door or they don't have any kind of reputation you can find, then you probably got to watch out. Like all those red flags you said before. Yeah. That point you made at the end I really liked. Like, you might get one later. You might get one later on. Yeah. But again, you don't have to go look for one. It's not necessary to have one. And it's normally going to be those top tier guys that are going to need them. So those are my So if you just like to side note again. Yeah. Take an investment. So Eric, give me $1,000. And what show me the projection. Well, give me this $1,000, and in 10 years I'll give you $10,000. You don't have to put another nickel in, or give me $1,000, and in 10 years it's going to cost you $10,000 or $5,000. Which one would you take? Yeah. So I want the investment that's going to pay me. That's what an agent's looking for. They don't want to take something that's going to take phone calls, gas money, dinners, all this kind of stuff, and time. Yeah. Right. I don't want it to suck it out of me. The last thing that I wanted to say is this is where agents, so just a side note, this might be more of an entertainment piece than an information piece, but it is actually kind of important when you are choosing this. I mean, you could fire them at any time, that's not the way I would like to do it. I mean, there are guys that do that, just fire their agents because they weren't whatever. Yeah. But I personally wouldn't want to do that. I would like to take the time to have a good, have some integrity. But so this is why it's important to have the right person if you're in that position to choose. Because if you do play in the National Hockey League and you're with Joe Schmuck and you happen to be good enough to get to the NHL, then there's a point where agents are actually can be very beneficial to you. So here's a scenario. If I'm Octagon, which is a big name, and they have, I think Pat Morris is in that one. He's one of the biggest agents. Or Pat Brisson with Sidney Crosby's agent and all those guys. When they call a general manager, they have clout. They have the best players, plus they have a stable of really good NHL players. So if you have some top guys, Nathan McKinnon, blah, 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 and then you have really good, like basically a team of second, third liners, and then some prospects coming in. If I'm Joe Schmuck going in to talk to Lou Lamoriello for the Islanders, free agent, signing or whatever. If I'm Joe Schmuck with a Joe Schmuck third line guy with a agent that's a third line agent, we'll call him. Yeah. That agent doesn't have a lot of power. Like, he can just do the comparables or whatever. Yeah. The agent that has clout, like a Pat Brisson or a Pat Morris, they can sit there and say, okay, Lou, Yeah, that guy, don't worry about him, because if you sign this guy, I'll throw a deal in for this guy here and this guy there. You got a little bit of bargaining power.
Right,
so that's why it's actually important to, when you make this decision, that it's actually a good one.
Well, and that makes sense too,
if you
right?
make money at it.
Well, that makes, like, if you're a top player and you walk into the coach's office, if I'm Sidney Crosby and I walk into the coach's office, he's going to listen to me.
That's right.
If I'm fourth line guy that played 5 games this year and I walk into the coach's office, he's not as inclined to listen to what I have to say necessarily.
Right. Yeah, but it's even like for making trades and stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
All that
the
stuff.
Agent can say, we'll waive that deal, but you have to throw this guy into a deal, or you have to get this guy $1 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he didn't deserve it as much as the Joe Schmuck
guy.
That's
interesting. I
and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
That's why it's important. Like, it's not just, that's why when you do this game, not this game, you do life, you try to pay attention to details.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna go, and I'm not saying Joe Schmuck agent who's starting out is a bad person or bad at it, but he'll get swallowed up by the big guys.
Yeah. And
it can't represent you as well. So you want to, when you put some thought behind the things that you're doing, you got to think, because obviously if you're getting an agent, you actually think because you need one, or you're thinking long term.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told Charlie, and he says it too, is like, we're not going to the OHL to play in the OHL. That's where we want to go to get to the next level.
Right.
So we are thinking, it's hard work. We're thinking. So the decisions that we make to go 10 years from now have to be decisions that we hope or we feel are good decisions, that are intelligent ones, that are going to be beneficial in 10 years.
Yeah, for
Makes
sure.
sense?
So, okay, so I already said what I was going to leave off on, but I'm going to say a new thing to leave off on, and then I'll let you leave off.
Okay.
So,
sounds good.
Because what you just said was important. So whether you're a guy that is in a position to get an agent or not or whatever, like, you have to be thoughtful about the decision that you're making. So, like, you have to be able to assess honestly, like, what is the position that I'm in? Am I a guy that needs an agent right now, today? And for most guys, the answer is no.
Answer is no.
If you're a guy that does need an agent, then you're thinking, like you just pointed out, I got to be thinking long term. Like, what is the best place for me to be long term?
Yeah, the guy can't work at Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah, exactly.
Right on the side.
On the side.
To make ends meet. Jesus. Oh, Jesus.
So, but the other part of it too is, like, so if you are, then maybe you can throw your thoughts on this one too. If you're in a position where you're maybe a top prospect and you can pick between, whatever agency, but you're not like a top prospect.
Mm-hmm.
So would it be better to go with the agent that is the biggest guy there is, or maybe like a guy that still has some good players and whatever, but maybe isn't the top, but he seems to be more interested in you personally or whatever, right?
Yeah,
sorry, before I throw it to you,
that's okay.
So these are the things that, wherever you end up on the spectrum of where you're at as a hockey player, you got to be thoughtful of, like, what's appropriate for me based on where I'm at right now, and then how am I going to make a good decision for the long term if I'm in a position where I'm approached by agents or whatever.
Yeah, I've done a couple things in my life where I regret, hockey, business, and different things, and it always comes down to, there's a feeling in my stomach, and I know it's a weird thing, and a lot of people maybe never been there and done that, but I've done it in business, I've done it in a lot of things. There's just a feeling in my stomach that I just knew it was the wrong thing to do, not like criminal wrong, you know what I mean, but like I knew it wasn't going to be the right decision for my life. But the pressure or the hope of it turning out good made my decision. I made the wrong decision. Say, okay, yeah, but it'll work out. And it's the same thing with the agents and all that kind of stuff. There will be a point where you just feel good about something, right? Not because it was a salesman or anything, but like, and that's what it was with Ian. It was like, he's a person of integrity, and I know that. He's very well respected. He's spoke the language that I want to hear. Not salesman-like, but we speak the same thing. The genuine. And I think that if I or my son have a moral stance or a belief, he'll stand by that, because it's probably have the same belief, and he would respect that. And that would be important to me. So what's important to me has to be, because it's like any business, right? Like if you and I work together a lot, we work a lot, we talk a lot, we work out a lot, we deal with people a lot, and because it works, one of the reasons it works anyways is because we're good at what we do, but number two is that we have the same ideals and thoughts, and principles. So if I'm not there and you have to make a decision, I know that I'm not coming back and saying, "What'd you do?
Yeah,
what'd you do? What are you an idiot?" Because it's the same moral fiber, and I think that's very, very important, very important. And I think if that was your decision maker, I wouldn't worry about the stable of people they have as much as I would as the person that you're dealing with.
Yeah, that
would be mine. And if I was to choose a college, if I was a player to choose a college, like if you have that opportunity, it would be the same thing. How do I feel? Like really deep inside, how do I feel about this? If I have good feelings, it's probably the right decision.
Yep.
Sometimes it's not the sexiest decision, right? You might be at a smaller school, or you might be at a less famous or whatever, but if it's the right decision, it's the right thing. And I truly do believe that if you do the right thing, it turns out. When you do something greasy, or if it feels a little bit, that pit in your stomach, it sits with you.
Yep.
It sits with you, and it sits for a long time, and it's hard to get out of.
Yep.
That's my thought.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think that's good. We should probably wrap it on that.
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you want to say. So I know we were kind of bouncing around a bit, but if anybody's got questions or follow up after that, let us know, and we'll talk about it.